On his last message, when he was bowing out of this Mother Earth, Blessed Gaza vowed to fight on his grave. He did not only end there, he also threw a dagger at Ziyambi and told him straight that you will run. Was he aware of what Ziyambi was on top of? And also the future ahead? Are we closer from actually the last action being carried out on Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa as well as Zwigananda Kabal? I think I must stress that from the look of things, it looks like tensions are rising. We may be not far from actually the day of reckoning where Zwigananda's and Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa's family will pay the big price for actually taking Zimbabwe at hostage for so many years. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. Now, it has come to light that Professor Jonathan Moyo and Ziyambi once trying to actually downplay their meeting which took place in Nairobi, Kenya. Professor Jonathan Moyo tried to sell a false narrative that there was no such meetings, and then details of Ziyambi ticket, a return ticket, were actually unveiled, and he returned to Zimbabwe today by 2:30. In fact, he went to Kenya on the 20th of February 2026 and returned today on Sunday. It is said he's expected to take some interviews, especially with foreign broadcasters such as SABC. Will be looking on that particular interview. But what I want to focus on is the military, court catching Ziyambi as well as Professor Jonathan Moyo, and also being privy of their discussions that Ziyambi was going to Professor Jonathan Moyo to be actually acquainted with strategies of weakening the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. Now caption this: the Zimbabwe Defense Forces has been in charge of ZANU-PF succession. ZANU-PF has been led since its inception by problematic leaders like Robert Gabriel Mugabe, who did not actually vacate the power when it was time for them to vacate the power. But we needed the hand of the military to stand up and actually send him packing. Same applies to Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. When he was borrowed this power, the indication was that he was going to lead the country for just 5 years. But guess what? He wanted a second term, and he was actually partially allowed, only to discover that also he needs a third term. He may probably need the fourth term and the fifth term if he is still alive by then, of which I don't think that is a possibility. You can tell the man he can hardly walk at the moment. But if he's allowed to actually, get away with this 2030 term extension, then this same Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa may actually lead the country forever. Now, when did we have been witnessing Mnangagwa doing reshuffles to the military, and what actually triggered them to discover that the military is still intact and it is still capable to actually be a formidable force against Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa? I think it is when retired General Chwenga as well as Ansela Msenyato opposed Amendment Bill number 3 of 2026. And not only that, you remember also the military intelligence report that was released barely hours before the much anticipated first cabinet meeting of Emerson Mnangagwa. Now, of course, they may have downplayed that intelligence report to suggest that it's not from the military, but the way it is written, the font and the style of writing, you can tell that it is indeed the intelligence report of the military. And the intelligence report was not so smart to Emerson Mnangagwa. It was not giving him an advice. In fact, he was ordered on what to do. And guess what? After they have gazetted Constitutional Bill number 3 of 2026, again, Ziyambi this time around goes to Kenya. Why did he go to Kenya? Because Professor Jonathan Moyo refused to be sneaked back to Zimbabwe. He realized that there is a potential coup that can take place any time from now in Zimbabwe. Because last time we hear that sometime last year, Professor Jonathan Moyo was sneaked to Zimbabwe, but the intelligence, the military intelligence, have those records. They are aware that indeed Professor Jonathan Moyo was actually sneaked to Zimbabwe. Maybe this is why the moves to fire retired General Chwenga have been delayed by Emerson Mnangagwa. Remember, there was talk of retired General Chwenga being fired by the 10th of February. Now, you should not actually underestimate that. That is real. That is what the regime intended. And there was talk of also firing the current leader of the Central Intelligence Organization, a notorious secret service organization in Zimbabwe, which is used to actually go against a dissenting voice in Zimbabwe. But all that, we haven't seen it happening. There was talk of also massive reshuffle of the cabinet of Emerson Mnangagwa. He hasn't done so. And what is the meaning of this? It simply means it's not yet safe. He is not yet safe to actually undertake the changes that he was doing. Now, mark my words, when an individual like Blessed Gaza, even in his deathbed, tells you that you will run, definitely he was not speaking empty words. Blessed Gaza should be taken seriously, and most probably, I think Mnangagwa, as well as Vikanandas, took the last words of Blessed Gaza seriously. And also, looking at the funeral arrangements as well as everything that was occurred, Blessed Gaza was buried like a hero. The actual Liberation War fighters traveled to the homestead of Blessed Gaza to bid a farewell, and on the day he was buried, a constitutional court was launched by the war veterans to challenge the 22 sections that Mnangagwa wants to mutilate within the constitution of Zimbabwe. When the war veterans obviously did that, Emerson Mnangagwa, in the back of the mind, he sees that these people cannot be doing what they are doing on their own, considering that they are given 153 United States dollars. It means there is a force behind this. And also, it keeps on leaking everything, the bribery of the military generals. It keeps on being the matter that is leaked, and the precise details of the bribes, as well as the date and the venue of the meeting, are already out in the public domain. To make matters worse, the people of Zimbabwe are out in arms against Emerson Mnangagwa's 2030 term extension. So the military busting Ziyambi, and also a revelation being made that these people's intention, part of the intention was to thwart the power of the military. Definitely, if it has such knowledge, it cannot turn a blind eye to such a knowledge. The mere fact that they possess such very, very serious information tells you that something is about to happen. And releasing this when Ziyambi was just few hours from jetting back to Zimbabwe. Is it time for him to run? We will be watching, but I must tell you that these days are extraordinary days. For those without a heart, some of the moments you would appear to be disappointed. Some of the moments there will be some bit of motivation. It will be quite a very difficult period. It has to be. This is the actually way Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa has chosen things to be. He doesn't want to go peacefully. Definitely, Amendment Bill number 3 of 2026, it would only be realized on the watch of Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. Someone was saying another day, I think it might be counterintelligence of ZANU-PF, because I see they are commenting a lot, speaking Wakwash. But I want to answer that because it made sense. It may be. What I do, I analyze political events. I'm not involved in the activities. I analyze something that is planned by people in Harare. I'm not staying in Harare. Now, I said before, Professor Jonathan Moyo may be after revenging to Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. And someone says, at one point you say he's after revenging. At one point you say they are meeting, he was sneaked to Zimbabwe. Now, let me tell you one thing. Sometimes to fight with your enemy, you need to smile at the enemy, pretend to be assisting the enemy, only to be actually backbiting the enemy. There is a possibility that this may be what is happening. Did Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa hate Professor Jonathan Moyo? I think there is no man who hate Professor Jonathan Moyo, none other than Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa, beginning with claiming his father during the Kukuraundi genocide, also the Cholocho Declaration betrayal, and also the 2017 also attempt on his life. And also it is suspected that the child of Professor Jonathan Moyo was likely eliminated by Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. So all these things that actually haunting historical events on Professor Jonathan Moyo, there is absolutely high probability that he may be using his brains to try and get back to this man. But Mnangagwa is too desperate to realize that at the moment. What is it desperate of? Of clinging to power. And also this desperation is working for us in good. We would love also to see him going down. And at the moment he has been put up to be against the military, Chiwenga, and himself. And definitely there is going to be a reaction. There is going to be an action somewhere, somehow, in the near future. The way events are moving forward, it is scary. It may be too close than you can imagine. When people are losing hope that there may be no change at all, the change may be too closer than you anticipate. Thank you very much for watching us. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars. Where are those stars? We're not seeing. Morgan is signing out. Let me love and leave you. Let's meet on the other side of